Hey, how are you?
What's up, man? What you up to?
Not a lot. I'm working on a couple of pulse jet engines that got some steam around them. I've already made this type before, so I already know it's a pretty potent engine. There's a guy that
Yeah,
wants one for some model airplanes.
right on.
Yeah, he paid just enough for the tooling to get started on it, so that's what I did. If I do a good enough job, might want me to do the airframe as well.
Hell yeah. That's a good
Unfortunately,
thing.
yeah, it just pays for tools, but at least it's another start on tools, I guess.
Yeah.
I gotta try to get a bunch more statements from people. It
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah,
How many you need? You probably get Gumby to write you one.
as many as I can possibly get. Anybody who remembers any of the stuff I did on Pearl Street, that'd be pretty important. Any of them stories that tell people who I really am instead of how I've been painted. I mean, I was painted worldwide. Plus, the things that the border police did to me, they did to a lot of different people, so it's not like I'm the only one that ever spoke out.
Yeah.
It's just getting people out of their own personal misery to actually step forward and do something about it. Like everybody's excuse for not helping their neighbors that the same thing's happening to them, so then they get pissed off at their neighbor. You know,
Yeah.
it's ludicrous. So how are you doing?
Not bad, man. Just working my ass off and fucking relaxing my time off.
I'm trying to stretch my back a bit, make it work.
Check this out, man. My last day of parole is going to be July 3rd. So July 4th is going to be my first day off parole.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool, huh? Be off parole fucking for Independence Day.
Yeah, it's just too bad we don't have a constitution and the flag's already been turned into toilet paper.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. But this particular year, it
It does
lines up where I can actually celebrate my independence
indeed.
because I'm getting off parole. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. So where are you going after that?
I'm gonna finish out the year up here. Brian still needs my help. I'm not gonna be fucking. I'm just gonna leave him hanging high and dry. So
Right?
I'm gonna finish out the year here, probably late October, early November. Head down to Florida and winter down there.
Well, I'm still trying to find land. I guess there's some down there. There's a lot in a lot of different areas. It's swampland.
Yeah.
Most people look at swampland and go, hell no, it's swampland. I look at it and go, well, the Mexicans down there in Mexico made them chinampas, made one of the largest cities on planet Earth doing that.
Yeah.
Not too difficult of a thing to do.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap land,
Turn it into a modern Vienna.
right?
Except I wouldn't go modern. I would
More
go,
antique classic look.
man, I'd use the terrain around it. I'd have like probably look like something a voodoo witch would live in. Now, that's the thing. I mean, to get started, I'm really not thinking about a creepy haunted house or some castle that I'm going to be, firing from the battlements or anything. I'm talking about more of a natural fortification to protect you from predators, and also, you know, a little bit of assistance helping to terraform the land in order to increase that safety and make it more like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Yeah.
But that can be done in a lot of different climates. That's the great thing about the Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Yeah.
There's also something I was learning about ropes. If you're going to be hanging anything from ropes to a center pole, you can just
Yeah.
get the center pole wet and it'll run down the ropes. That'll feed any of the plants that are attached to that rope.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
it is indeed. Use some ivy to cover your house. Build up some dirt around the outside. Put some slippery moss on the exterior of that. Put some ivy on top of that. That way it grows up your walls.
Yeah.
Nobody even know it's there, and even if they do know it's there, they're gonna have problems getting there.
Right.
That's kind of the idea of the Roman fort, is that you got a few people working together, many hands make for light work.
Yeah.
But, you know, I designed it to, you know, like I lived in a lot of different climates, so I thought of a lot of different plants from a lot of the different terrains I was in, and, you know, it'd have to be an agricultural project. It'd have to be mostly plants that you can survive on. Blackberries are good. So, like where you dig the, basically you're digging a moat when you're digging up the dirt to make a wall for something like
Yeah.
that. You're just digging up the dirt into a trench and throwing that up towards the inside of the structure, and it starts building the hill. If you
Yeah.
harvest the grass off the top of it before you get started, then you can throw that down where you want it to grow. Help
Yeah.
hold everything down. Then you could do anything inside of there. You could live in tea houses, you could live in tents, you could pull in your RV depending on where it's at, you know.
Yeah.
But a lot of people they have these expectations like they have to live in modern society, or somehow you're weird or strange. Like, no, normal is weird.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking about after that? You just wintering there in Florida, or?
Yeah. No. 2020, man. I'm gonna be. I'll probably do anywhere from 15 to 25 festivals. I'm gonna get a food truck going and book an airbrush tattoo tent.
Oh, it's a good start.
Yeah, food truck. We're gonna be selling Cajun food.
Oh, you're gonna feed them that filthy, nasty French Creole crap, huh?
Yeah. Some gumbo, some fucking crawfish etouffee, some boudin balls.
Yeah, I'm not trying to knock on your heritage. I'm just saying that stuff is voodoo. That
Man,
food, oh my
I'm telling
god.
you, I ain't seen no Cajun food at any fucking show that I've been to in the last 5 years, man.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. You don't want to be bouncing around on Cajun food. Are you out of your mind?
Why not?
Why not? Because it comes back up. Don't get me wrong, I like Cajun food, all of it that I ever tasted, but I like the way I cook my crawdads better.
Well, yeah, what do you do?
I just boil them
Well, that's what Cajuns do.
and then dip them in butter, and that's it.
You don't use any of the spicy boils or nothing?
Oh no. Like, I like spicy stuff, but it's got to be the right kind of spicy. Like, even if it's, let's say it's a jalapeno versus a habanero. Well, I
Yeah,
like the flavor of jalapenos. I do not like the flavor of habaneros. Even if the
yeah,
habanero is a weak one and it's weaker than a jalapeno, it still doesn't have the right flavor to me.
yeah.
But I guess that's just me growing up with northern cooking. I can't stand collard greens, and I think turnip greens are about the nastiest, most disgusting thing this side of snot.
Well, I can deal with the collard greens, but the turnip greens, no, I'm not a fan of those either.
I'd rather eat broccoli. I actually used to like broccoli when I had teeth, so I shouldn't say that. I would rather eat Brussels sprouts, and I can't stand Brussels sprouts.
I like Brussels sprouts.
You're nasty. What's wrong with you, sir?
Hey, Brussels sprouts are the shit, man. I just had some today.
You know, I'm gonna agree with you. They do taste like shit. They kind of smell like it too. It's like, you know, really bad cabbage farts after eating a can of Spam. And then you're gonna put that in your mouth.
Yeah.
Like, at least it's not salty. It's just bitter tasting. But, I mean, it still smells like a butthole.
I don't know how many buttholes you've been sniffing lately, Sean.
Oh, dude, I don't go sniffing buttholes. But I'm telling you, different people got different farts, and it all depends on what they eat. And when people get flatulent off of them greens and veggies, do what?
He said, whoever you got cooking them ain't doing it right.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what. No matter who it is that's cooking them greens, you're gonna fart.
Hey, did Peaches ever get you that letter? Do I need to call in your letter?
Do what?
I said, did Peaches ever write you a letter? Do I need to call in your letter?
Oh no, there ain't no need to yell at anybody. I do all my yelling myself. You know me, I'm an asshole if I need to be.
Right.
Actually, I really wasn't an asshole and I needed to be. That's how this all became an issue.
What do you mean?
Well, when I stick up for myself, it ends up being me and I end up getting smacked. In whatever fashion that may be. I really should have stood up to people a lot sooner and let them know they needed to. Well, you know, that's the other thing is I really did, but I also understood every time that since it was just me, people can gang up on me, I automatically lose, and that's the way it goes. But I tried to be good to everybody, you know.
Yeah.
It's like people don't remember that just because. Oh my God, man! Like people are so messed up.
Yeah, man.
These folks didn't care about how their lives or their inability to be honest with their families in some of these cases. Like, they didn't understand how that impacted my life. Or they didn't care, which really sucks worse, because if they didn't care, it really does make them insensitive people. I wouldn't have ever done that to somebody. Like, by the time that I had to start speaking up, I'd already been through 10 shades of hell.
Yeah. Yeah, you was telling me about the motherfuckers in Arapahoe County.
Oh God, dude, those guys were bad.
Yeah.
Now, that's the thing. They just kept on postponing all of my court dates. None of my public pretenders were willing to even pretend to defend me. They kept in shipping me from place to place. I mean, it sucked. And they're shipping me, you know, far enough away from each other that it's really costing me a lot of money to do that traveling. I got $700 something a month for disability, but 600 of it's going to traveling for the courts, and they just kept on stretching it out and stretching it out and stretching it out, making me go back to places where I'm being victimized. Like that money is supposed to go for me to eat. Now I'm not getting it. They took it away from me because the abuse they put me through. And then folks are like, well, you know, you broke the law, you had this coming. No, I didn't choose to break the law, I had to break the law. When it gets to that point, like, even Peaches couldn't go in with me. She'd tried on a couple of occasions and they'd refused to let us in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like we weren't making an effort. It's just that, like, even with that, I had to try to coordinate with her and Raja so that, the kids were taken care of so that she could go do that with me. And I tried explaining to her that you have to set up an appointment. They'd already told me that. She's like, well, we'll just go down now. I'm like, all right, well, we went down there, and of course, that's what they told us. And then there was another time that she wanted to go with me, and I was already waiting on somebody else to go with me. So by the time that somebody else canceled, it was already too late to have Miss Peaches do it. When I finally was able to go in and talk to the police, she wasn't able to because she had her son with her. So, like, that's what screwed me is this whole entrapment bullshit that they're allowed to do because they don't turn on their cameras.
Yeah.
They didn't write down what I said, but they did write down what their opinion was. They didn't take a look at the whole situation and they didn't care. As far as they were concerned, I was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Plus, all the assaults that I went through that the police were unwilling to take, I mean, that's some fucked up shit. I'm suicidal for a reason. I didn't just wake up one day and go, oh, gee, my life is perfect, I want to die. That's not how it fucking works.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I should stop talking over you.
No, man. Sometimes somebody just needs somebody to listen.
Yeah. I need more than just somebody to listen, but it's a good start,
Well, I know you got more than just me that loves you, bro. You can call people sometimes too. Let them know how you're doing.
I do, I try. But a lot of times, folks don't want to hear all the negative crap that's going on, and as a result, I don't want to tell them.
Yeah.
A lot of people say stuff like, Sean.
The only thing you can do is be honest, Sean.
I'm doing my best. That's the thing. I'm not any good at lying. But then people just assume that I'm lying no matter what anyway, or that I hallucinated it or some crap like that. No, I paid attention to my surroundings. I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't no dummy. People just assume that. And then the other thing is, like, there was a lot of people that didn't know that I was autistic. They had no idea. There's a lot of people that had no idea that I had Tourette syndrome. But, that allowed me to be who I was without getting that retard judgment that people put on somebody with autism. They're like, oh, well, they're autistic. It's basically the same as being schizophrenic. Like, no, it's not even close. It's not. Like, I can picture something when I'm building it in my head. That's being able to picture it. That's not the same as hallucinating something.
Yeah.
And visualizing it like it's in front of me. I mean, that helps me to focus on it. That's not hallucinating either, because I really have to, put effort towards doing that. But it's like mechanical movement. That's something that you do in your head in exactly the same way. When you do one of those tests and it has the lines for the pulleys, and then it's got the circles, and it says which direction will this one turn if you turn this one over here this direction, or how many times will this one go around in circles and in what direction if you make this one over here, this 1/4 its size go around, and all that kind of crap. Like, I was always good at those kind of tests, but it's exactly the same thing. Like, can you see them moving in your head? And all the greatest minds of not just our century, but nearly every century have proclaimed what an important thing the imagination is. I mean, if you think about it, everything that you touch was created by man. Somebody had to imagine it. Even out in the woods, there's a lot of places that are unexplored, but all of our stuff that we build things out of, that's all out of somebody's imagination, out of the very planet that we're on. All of our plastic came from somebody's imagination. Molds came out of people's imagination. You know, like when you're not like the plant type of mold, but mold like is in you're molding an engine block or molding a figurine or whatever. You know, I mean, these are all things that people had to come up with through imagination.
Yeah.
I just wish I could use my imagination in a more constructive fashion than having to defend myself like this.
Well, how soon until you can get it all over with, man? I mean, you actually can do shit like that.
I don't get to get it all over with. I still have to try to get information and requisition evidence. I gotta try to take these bastards out in court, no matter what that takes.
Well, what all do you need to get that done?
I've been working on it.
Alright.
There's 10 million different things that all cost, so I'm working on each bit a little bit at a time as I can get it done.
Right on.
Kind of like that trying to get an ID when you don't have an ID. It's not easy.
Yeah, that's just dumb as hell.
Yeah. Well, at least I got a place where I can receive mail right now, and that means for the first time since December 2017, I can finally get stuff sent to me, like my medical records and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've been waiting on that stuff. It's just having so many places where I don't know if I'm going to get to go back to that place because all the court dates and all of the BS that the cops did and got away with, and the fact that so many witnesses are afraid to come forward. And like, dude, it was. Well, I can't say was. It still is messed up.
Yeah.
People got a lot of pretty things to say about it, but it's a lot more messed up scenario than any of them known.
Yeah, I can tell, man.
I guess the most important part is these are our rights, so that's why I'm pretty pissed off. You know, I mean, I fought for our rights for a lot of years, and then people are like, oh well, you know, just let it go. No, I don't get to let it go. People don't understand that I'm not allowed to do that. They haven't let it go. They wouldn't stop coming after me in a terrible fashion and haven't stopped slandering my name. And that's the thing, the damage is already done. So, you know, as far as taking them to court, I've been trying to get that done and they just wouldn't do it. They wouldn't allow me a court date, wouldn't allow me a proper lawyer. No money means no rights. And then they decide, oh, well, you know, we'll just string him along until he absolutely has to do something in order to survive. And then we're going to jump on him and do a bunch of illegal stuff to prevent him from going to any of his court dates. And then we'll charge him a bunch of money and charge him as a criminal because he wasn't allowed to go into any of his court dates. And we'll refuse to look at any of the evidence that he's produced because it's not our job. And then your public pretenders won't look at it either. Like, holy fuck. The United States of where? This is Nazi Germany. We're a commodity for the rich. We don't matter to even our own people anymore.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of them are going through the same stuff and they're all, poor me, poor me. Well, no, not poor you. I'm standing up for our rights. The least you guys could do is stand up for your rights as well. And I don't see people doing that. I see them making excuses why other people don't deserve those rights. Or excuses for turning a blind eye when it happens to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not my fault I'm not a woman, or it's not my fault I'm not black, you know. And, like, they don't realize that it's their rights that are being trampled every time that happens to somebody else. It doesn't connect in their brain, and then they call me mentally ill. You know?
Yeah. Oh man, this whole bullshit's mentally ill. This ain't the way we're supposed to be living, bro.
No, it's not. I don't understand why we can't just be good to each other.
Yeah. No, man. Everybody treats each other like shit, and then they think it's okay because they got treated like shit. But, you know, it ain't okay.
People who are hurt people.
Disgusting.
I agree. Well, for me, I mean, I just got sick and tired of, I was the most mild-mannered, decent folk for forever and a day. It's just when it got to the point that I was being physically abused, I wasn't allowed to go back to where I felt the sense of safety or home. I wasn't allowed to defend myself. I mean, that really tears a dude down. And then having my friends and family threatened over it too. I mean, that's just some messed up stuff. A lot of people were real cruel to me and didn't care. And that's the problem, is that it's the indifference of others that really hurts me the most. Is that because it's not happening to them, it must not actually be happening. And I'm like, no, you guys are fucking insane. People have lived and experienced different parts of it, so there's a lot of people who on parts of it are like, yeah, dude, I understand completely what you're saying. But then there's other parts that they didn't have to live. And they're like, well, how can it be like that? And I try to explain it, and they just don't want to understand it. And I don't see any difficulties in understanding it at all. I guess it all depends person to person.
Just about everyone only understands the limits of their own perception, and they take that for the limits of the world. But everybody's got their own perception. Everybody's lived something different, bro.
Yeah, that's where I'm special. I get to look at a lot of people's perspectives, and that's where I get to even, like, if I wanted to insult somebody and make them feel really, really bad, I know how to do it just because I know what people's interests are, and I'm really good at catching on stuff with people, and it's a pattern. It's something that they establish. But at the other point, like, I don't like that, happening to me, so why would I do that to other people?
Yeah.
Why would I push somebody else's buttons when I don't like them pushing mine? And then it gets to the point where people have pushed my buttons enough where I'm like, I really should have stopped being nice a long time ago. What the hell am I doing just taking this abuse? And then I remember it's just me. There's a lot of people that want to help but can't, or make excuses why they can't, or they legitimately have to choose between their family and me. And that's not an okay thing, Nobody should have to choose between, like, and it's not even because their family is hateful towards them, it's because their families get sick and all of their money and attention has to go there, and I do understand that.
You have to repeat whatever you just said because your phone cut out.
Oh, I thought I heard the toilet flushing.
Huh?
I said, I'm sorry, I thought I heard the toilet flushing.
You had a toilet flushing?
I thought I heard you flushing a toilet on your end.
No, I turned the sink on to rinse my cup out. Then I poured some orange juice and drank a glass of orange juice.
Ah.
I was cleaning my glass.
Well, at least it's not Cajun food.
Alright, with the jokes, huh, bud?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you, wait till you try my fucking Cajun food truck, bro. I'm gonna have the last laugh on that one.
Oh, I'm not gonna laugh. I'll try it. I mean, there's a lot of Cajun food I actually like. I do want to try alligator.
Try what?
Alligator?
Alligator?
Yep.
we'll be serving alligator out of the food truck, but
Yeah, it's a good way to get salmonella.
we'll definitely be doing crawdads and fucking maybe some jambalaya and gumbo, probably boudin. There's all kind of shit.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll probably get to try all of it.
Hell yeah.
Or not, who knows. If you got a food truck, that might be unsanitary and scary for me with all the seafood and the heat.
Yeah.
Getting a
No, man,
refrigeration
I'm
unit gets
gonna have a
expensive.
fucking. All that shit's gonna be legit, man. I'm gonna have licenses and go through the health department and get all the fucking equipment that I'm supposed to have, stay up to code and all that shit.
Absolutely.
It ain't just gonna be no motherfucking parking lot kitchen.
Well, yeah, actually, by definition, that's what it'll be. Even if you're, where else are you gonna park it? Is it gonna be a driveway kitchen?
No, it'll be at the show. It'll be in the show. It'll be a fucking food booth at a fucking festival.
Yeah, but if you're parked outside, then it's a parking lot kitchen.
Alright, motherfucker. I'm not. Alright, whatever. Yeah, I ain't gonna argue with you about that.
No, I'll let you win. You know better than I do because you're the one in the situation with the idea who's done the research.
Yeah.
That's pretty important to remember. Like for me, I haven't done a lot of research into that. I thought about it. I had a few folks that I knew that wanted to do stuff like that, so I researched it a little bit, but I mean, not so much something I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
People scare the hell out of me, especially when you got to deal with money, because then people can be assholes.
Yeah.
And you just got to take it, or you're some sort of terrible excuse for a human being. Oh no, the hot dog vendor cursed somebody out for being an asshole. He's a terrible hot dog vendor. Well, at least he didn't threaten to expose his weenie.
Hey,
Is that a
Sean,
bad joke?
let me call you back. It's getting kind of late, but I got another call coming in.
Alright,
I'll
you
give
be
you a call
safe.
back this weekend, bro.
Alright, be safe.
Alright, love you, man.
You too, Hebert. Bye.
Good night.